just some a really minority people who become addictiveness and who still think they need that therapy. We think those people don't exist a lot. And moving to my last issue, which is a really important point, that we say what was going to happen after the plan is the quality of the game and the profit of company itself is going to damage. Why? Two reasons. Firstly, that the compensation cost itself will become a big financial burden for the game community to produce and develop the next game or improve the game. For example, they have less money on the development, less money on the manpower, less money on the equipment. And secondly, we say that it's going to discouraging the companies to produce interesting game, because if you're producing some attractive game and interesting game and make some people play it for a long time, then you're going to require to pay more money in compensations. Then you're discouraging those developer in the competition to produce good game. Why is this harmful? Because we say there's also the majority of the users is like this is the only entertainment for them when a tired life, after a tired work, a long day, that this is the only entertainment for them. We say this quality of the entertainment is also really important, right, for those people. So do the compare. What they're trying to protect is those people who become addicted by their self-responsibility, and what we're going to protect is the people who have when they receive the harm, like for example the quality become lower, they have no, they didn't choose to let to take the harm. And second, we say that the fundamental obligation of the corporations is to keep providing good service for people. So we say their plan is going to jeopardize the fundamental obligations of company, which is much higher harm. We say we oppose.
Okay, thanks for your remarks. Now call upon Governor Webb.
Mr. Speaker, they told us continuously, the people they choose to become the addicted, Mr. Speaker. But the answer to this is that this is a nuance, Mr. Speaker. There are some people who become addicted because of the structure that these corporations prepare. And we think that these people cannot get redress under the current situation. And these people, they constantly pay the money, they donate their money to the corporation. And we think that the causation that those companies have provided is actually the good reason for these corporations responsible for the damage that accrued to these people in the first place, that was engaged by their side of the house. I'm going to talk about two things in my speech. Firstly, on addiction. So they told us their model, this kind of addiction would be improved. No, we think that there's a loophole on the online game, because you can create the multiple accounts on the internet card. You can donate without using the bank account. Or you would like to choose another type of shooting game. There's actually a loophole. And also, there's a model only deal with the people become addicted so in exclusive manner, Mr. Speaker. But we think that the alcohol or the types of the addiction is not limited to such an extreme type, Mr. Speaker. We think that types of the people, they're also the people who cannot manage their own lives. For example, that sometimes you might be rational and you don't want to pay money to the online game, but when you got some money, well, on the way to home, and when you drop by the convenience store, you necessarily choose to pay money or choose to buy the web money to donate that kind of money to the corporation. These people cannot manage their own life, cannot manage on their finances. Mr. Speaker, we think this is analogous to the alcoholics or drug addicts. These people are not always like such like crazy people, or those people do not always drink. But at some point, these people are rational. But these people cannot always manage their health, Mr. Speaker. And that's why we need to intervene in this kind of situation. Even this is not the extreme case, Mr. Speaker. So what I want to say is at some point, there are necessarily some people who have to be like, compensated, who necessarily need this kind of protection, who necessarily become addicted by their those kind of structure that company provided, Mr. Speaker. So what their response? Well, their response was like those people choose to become addicted because there's a warning level, or there's a warning before they can play the game. 4 responses throughout the game. They respond to some and ignore the others. So firstly, we see the corporation that systematically make people addicted, Mr. Speaker. Because corporations have the incentive to do this. Because of these people's like get money from the advertisement or like the players' money. And that's what the corporation does. Is like they make these people constantly access to the game, constant online game, and also like they incentivize these people to like get to pay for the extra items or those kind of things. This is the structure that the corporation provided to those people. Even if there's a warning, we think that some people are not able to rationally consume those kind of products. And also, we think that some people who cannot rationally consider what kind of thing that would be the harm. And also that people unconsciously that are addicted to this kind of product. And this is the structural difficulty these people that they cannot overcome under that kind of situation. No, thank you. But second response is like there is a difference. That obviously, this is what our second speaker told us, and that they were never responded by their side of the heart. There's a difference between the get into like debating or get into the online game and become addicted, Mr. Speaker. At the point of which you are into the online game, you just think that you might become to love the online game or play the 24/7. But these people do not expect like these people are going to going bankrupt, or those people are constantly pay the money to those companies, or that constantly pay to take out the whether whether they're better than the other competitors on the online game, or those kind of things. These people are not expected that kind of situation. We think that these people who are the one who need to be addressed in this particular scenario, and their model doesn't deal with this kind of the people in the first place. But thirdly, we think that this kind of we think that we need to mandate those corporations to prepare the legitimate grant for the deal, Mr. Speaker. We think that these companies deal is only legitimate when the people they consent to their product, and also danger harm which might accrue from their product, Mr. Speaker. We think that at the point at which these people are addicted, we think the corporation has a responsibility to provide the care to those people in order to clarify whether these people are rational. This kind of the deal is legitimate. But fourthly, we think that their response was their only point in today's debate is this will increase the corporate the quality of the game, and that is the determinant of the harm to the consumers and the corporation, Mr. Speaker. So let's talk about the corporate the balance of the corporate right and the individual right, Mr. Speaker. We say that our model is better at providing the appropriate balance in this particular scenario, Mr. Speaker. But before that, yes.
If the innate irrationality or stupidity is the cause of this addiction, why is it the company's responsibility at all?
Well, this is not entirely responsibility. What told us is that what we told you in today's debate. These people might be stupid, but we think that causation is causation is rooted in the company. That's why corporation has the first priority. The corporation has the first responsibility to provide the care. So, but let's talk about the balance. So, their model, they considered like we needed to like decrease the quality of the game because they consider in their model we can decrease the quality of the model by limiting the time that consumers can play games or those kind of things. They necessarily consider the kind of the decrease of the quality. We think that what we need to prioritize here is that the people who cannot get rewarded, cannot get redressed in this particular scenario, we are happy with the decrease of the quality itself. But secondly, your model is not mutually exclusive. So our model also cannot employ that kind of model, and that means we can decrease the number of people who are addicted. That is, like your point doesn't necessarily prove that this kind of like restriction necessarily undermines the corporate profit, necessarily undermines the corporate quality of the games itself, Mr. Speaker. So at point of which we think that our model is like something that provides the people who want to play a long time, but also who want to get redressed in this particular scenario. And that's why our model better than our model. We're very proud to propose.
Okay, thanks for your remarks. Now call upon opposition whip.
Mr. Speaker, what they didn't explain in this debate is what addiction is in the first place and what's the balance of choices which should be given to the individual players in the first place. And the most problematic point of their side of the house is what's problem of addiction, Mr. Speaker. Their problem is maybe they might be addicted because it's a structural problem of the online game companies. But we say, my partner already told you, right? Already many people are fairly playing the online games without many problems actually going to the players in the status quo, and actually they are happily playing the games in their manner. What they're supporting this debate is to only incentivize companies to provide the interesting game to the ordinary players who are maybe addicted but who don't have any problem in the addictiveness of their side of the house. We are very proud of those in our side of the house. I will tell you maybe two things in the first place. First, about the principle of the like compensation of the companies, what's addiction and what companies should pay for, those kind of things. And secondly, I'll tell you to what extent we should guarantee the freedom of choice or which side is better for the happiness of individual players. So firstly, the principle of corporations. What they talking about in this way is like the addiction is bad, addiction is structurally occurred in the first place. But we told you addiction is very broad concept, Mr. Speaker. For example, smoking one carton of tobacco is obviously addiction. Maybe it's not doubted by anyone, but maybe many people are happily doing that kind of thing and smoking 1 carton or 2 cartons of tobacco in a day. But they think the government didn't intervene to that, even though they take some kind of tax or so forth. Why can they say addiction is already bad when it comes to online games suddenly, Mr. Speaker? From my personal point of view, people who play Tsum Tsum or Kankore for 1 hour or 2 hours are already addicted to those games. They can do anything instead of games in that time, maybe studying or job hunting or working or those kind of things. There are more constructive ways to spend time, but maybe this statement is offensive for them because they like it, they love it, and they think it's important time for them, and why they play those kind of game. But we think that those kind of people are seen by some people as addicted, but it's not so addictive for those kind of people. In the first place, addiction is very broad concept, and maybe if they allow the corporations to pay money for those kind of addiction, we think it's bad for companies. Yes, there's already bad addiction. For example, people who play games for 8 hours or 10 hours and die because of the games, and maybe they can go bankrupt by those kind of games. It's very bad addiction. But we already solved that problem by our model from leader of opposition. Maybe for example, they don't receive the compulsory education or they go bankrupt by paying too much money for those kind of games, can be prevented by our model in the first place. The only problem on their side is like the 3 hours prayer or 4 hours prayer. We think it's not a problematic addiction in the first place. The companies shouldn't pay. And from the government trip, they told us there's a loophole. You play the one game for 30 minutes and you play next game for 30 minutes. Maybe we cannot prevent those players from being addictive anymore, right? Maybe they are every time addictive. Maybe even though there's no online games, they do another thing and they go bankrupt in the first place. But whose responsibility is it, Mr. Speaker? When one company provides 30 minutes of a game for one player, we think there's no responsibility for those companies. Even though there's loophole, it's principally not affirmed by their side of the house, Mr. Speaker. Then they told us the structural problem is existing in the status quo. They are structurally forced to be addictive. Yes, it's true. Like maybe you have to confirm you are better than other players. For example, like Kankore, or you can confirm you are better than other players. But it's same in case of the studying or debating or playing sports. You have to confirm you are better than other players. It's not so problematic. It's only the nature of competitive games in the first place. Maybe you can be addicted to fatty food. You can be addicted to sweet food or so forth. But it's not the problematic self. Like if you go unhealthy lifestyle, it might be bad. But we think the companies shouldn't pay those kind of things, and there's no example of the companies are paying those kind of money for the consumers who are addicted to those kind of things. That's why, Mr. Speaker, even though players are addictive and it's somehow caused by the company's nature, we think it's not the justification for companies to pay the money for the therapy costs of the players. That's why we think this motion should fall. Yes.
So Las Vegas already pays the compensation to the customers who get addicted, because those people want to get back into the ordinary life, but these people are not able to because of the addiction. Don't you think that people who want to but don't know where to turn to should be rewarded? Should we get redressed by the corporation in the example like the Las Vegas? In the same way, we should. Don't you think we should do so?
Firstly, giving one example is not just justification for the government to take those kind of things. We are happy to regulate the Las Vegas games, like the people shouldn't go bankrupt in Las Vegas and people shouldn't play so much time in Las Vegas. We are happy to control that. And there's no justification or reason to why Las Vegas have to pay for the players. There's no reason coming from affirmative. So moving on to my second point, to what extent that we should guarantee the freedom of choice, or which side is better for individual. The Prime Minister told us that bankruptcy is also choice. To die as a result of too long playtime is also choice. So our line is very vague or so forth. But we told you, yes, it's choice, it's responsibility of the players, but states should stop them from going too far, right, Mr. Speaker, even though it's rational, valid decision. We stop suicide, or we are in the closer analogy, our leader told you, we monitor the bank account of casino players and prevent them from going bankrupt. Even though it's the responsibility or it's choice of an individual, it's problematic, obviously, for individual. That's why government should intervene into that kind of thing. But in this case, there is no obvious problem other than the extreme example of Korea or Japan or China or all those kind of countries. Like those kind of people who are regulated are already doubted by outside of the house. There's no problem for the players who play 3 hours, 4 hours, all those kind of things. Those who we deprive the choice of in our model are radical and extreme players. Affirmative already admits that they should be free from addiction. But what they destroy in their side of the house is access of the ordinary players to the interesting, Mr. Speaker. We think it's a problematic intervention of the government to that economy or companies or those kind of things. That's why, Mr. Speaker, we are very proud, of course.
Okay, thanks very much. To conclude the case and then about Paul give her up to give this class.
There are two reasons why they can't win the debate. The first reason is there wasn't really an exclusivity in how much people they can save on their side of the house. The second reason is because the company's responsibility is to provide good service to users after the whole, as much as its responsibility is not to cause harm to society after the whole. When we prove to you that the only rebuttal from their side of the house is that bad service for users is a good thing after the whole, we think that this responsibility is is overridingly important, and that's what I'm going to prove to you in this reply speech. There are two questions I'm going to ask. Firstly, do they exclusively save anyone? Secondly, is company's responsibility. So the first thing, their addictiveness was the about this something really bad going to happen. They might die, they might like not be able to work, they might bankrupt. They didn't really illustrate the sort of problem. We think we were more like illustrating their case after all. That proves how unrealistic their case is, or how difficult they are to like actually like tangibly like bring the sort of case after all this debate. We clearly told you that radical case was something easily dealt with on negative model of like on extreme cases of financial restriction, time restrictions after all, and that obvious. And also we think that to that extent we were okay with people like even if they're playing 3 hours a day to the extent that they're able to like to work and play concurrent in a harmonized way, or if they're rich, we're okay with them to play with like World of Warcraft or like Pazdora, I don't know, something like that. And also we thought we were pretty consistent when it's obvious that if they die, they can't play. If they're bankrupt, they won't be able to play because they don't have the money, or they're going to be chased by like some of these loaners, things like that. And the only engagement coming from this side of it is that what are the people suffering right now? The thing is that if the companies weren't following the rule in the past, they should be made to compensate for that. The thing is that our model is consistent with the status quo with most companies like Concorde after all. So you don't think that engagement was any sufficient or substantiated after all, or something exclusive to prove that they are able to save more people on their side of the house. And even if we conceded that, I'm not sure whether their model was able to save their people, because they never answered to a POI when we told you whether they're going to be forcefully send people to doctors, something like that. That was up to individuals after all. So the extent that characterization of the addictiveness is that they find themselves happy with the addiction. Are these people able to go to therapies or go to doctor in the first place? I'm not sure, even if we conceded that, whether they're able to save the minimum amount of people after all. We think they are only going to be able to save a minimum amount of people out of the minimum amount of people in this debate. And I don't call that a benefit in a debate. A second thing about companies' responsibility. They wanted to tell us that this company's market strategy like alerts people into becoming addicted because of advertisements, maybe power imbalance. The problem was that a reason to make people addictive to a game? Because advertisements attract people to play a game, but not how they play a game. Like power imbalance, how does it work? I don't know whether a company is going to knock the door and make people play for 20 hours. I don't know. But those sort of like apparently logical reasons didn't really connect to the nature of individuals to like play so much after all. It was only for people to be attracted to play the game, but not how they play the game in this particular debate. We rather told you that these companies providing good benefit or service to individuals are like intertwined or like equal to providing addictive things after all. And the way whether it's going to be good addictiveness or bad addictiveness is up to individual choices after all. So to the extent that it's a misuse, if someone killed a person with a knife, that's not the company's responsibility. It's an individual's responsibility to be irrational, to be stupid, to devastate their own life. And to the extent that it's only individual thing, then why do companies have to repay that responsibility after all? Their answer to POI makes knife companies pay for the murderous harm that's caused to the victims after all. And we don't think obviously that's how society should work after all. And what we rather told you is that companies' responsibility is to users, and the only responsibility side of the house is that it's a good thing. It's obviously not good when in your tiring life, the only enjoyment you have is Concorde, and they deprive that by making that game itself boring after all. That responsibility of companies is something never going to side of the house, and we say to haven't provided any benefit, we win the debate.
Okay, thank you for the remarks. Conclude this round, I'll call upon Prime Minister to give his reply speech.
The debate was going to be a very freaky general debate about individual free choice. The strange, lazy, one-line argument still forget to respond to our own argument. What? The addiction is a good thing, whether it's harm or not, should be up to the decision of the free decision-making process of the customers. So this is the main contention we got from the rest of the house. The value of the third argument on the quality of online games will decrease is also based on this idea. Okay, we contend first of all, the addiction
as such as holistically regarded as the deprivation of the room for the individual free calculation in the first place, ladies and gentlemen, the state forget to respond to this core characteristic of the state of the being addictiveness in the first place. And moreover, and they say that there are people happy with addictiveness, right? We should be protective of those people. Sure, we just give them the choice and the right to opt out from addictiveness. Okay, return back to the model. How about their model? Restriction of the people's usage of the online games. Their side are depriving of the people's choice to freely using online games in the first place, ladies and gentlemen. If their side content as individual choices are extremely important, the individual should freely enjoy their enjoyment by using online games or whatever, ladies and gentlemen. That their side is the only side who limits the individual free choices, the individual free enjoyment by their sneaky or the very strange model in the first place. Because the negative is the only side in the space who limits the individual freedom, ladies and gentlemen. But let's return back to the motion. Let's start back the motion. No motion, okay? So, let's confirm. Our side, the giving the individual the choice to force corporation to pay compensation to this individual if they like, okay? How about this individual who really want to get lots of opt out from the addictiveness? I already contended in the first speaker, ladies and gentlemen. We expand the free choices of those people with our motion. But how about their somebody else? Their side still have nothing to do with those people who really want to get lost in addictiveness. So let's get the first confirmation I make responding to the point of information Chikara Mizukami did to him. He said, addiction, whether addiction is good or bad, who should decide the point? Okay, as I told you, this is not a debate about whether addiction is good or the bad. This is a debate about that for the people who think the addiction is bad, who really want to get lost addictiveness, which programs better for those people? Obviously, our problem, our motion gives them the choice and rights to opt out from addictiveness if those people like to get lost addictiveness. This is not a debate about those who think addictiveness is good or who are happy with addictiveness in the first place. So, ladies and gentlemen, those people have no exclusivity in this debate. Only this motion have exclusivity for is the people who really want to get lost addictiveness, and we say for those people are very happy to propose.
Okay, thank you very much. Now speak over. Thank you for cooperation.